Have you ever chased a six-pack thinking that it would make you happy? I did, again and again. I lost 10 kgs 10 different times, and every time I got lean, I still felt empty. Because fat loss does not fix self-worth or loneliness. But the crazy part is, today I'm in the best shape of my life, both physically and mentally. But it didn't come from training harder. It came from changing why I was doing it in the first place. And it's not the diet, it's not the training program, it's something else you've been missing. Otherwise, you would not be here. Stay with me, because once you see it, you will never chase fat loss goals the same way again. I studied human movement sciences, but I also lived through the binge cycles, the repetitive weight gain, and chasing a six-pack to feel enough. This isn't just theory, this is my story, and by the end of this video, you will understand why your fat loss pursuits never last until your reason does. To prove this to you, let me walk you through something I bet you've never heard about, the real reason why fat loss doesn't last. Once you understand what I'm about to show you, it's going to change the game completely. I want you to picture your current fat loss approach, which probably looks something like this. Imagine a mountain that's built on macros, training splits, calorie deficits, fitness apps, fat burners, cutting out carbohydrates. All the things that we are told will get us in shape, stacked on a mountain of insecurity. And at the peak, a six-pack or whatever physique that you are chasing. If your mountain looks like this, your mountain is never going to be stable, and these things won't work unless your foundation is solid. Here's why. You are not building for sustainability like this. You're chasing a body that you feel is accepted by others, instead of building a life that feels meaningful to you. And then Instagram makes it worse. You're not just comparing physiques, now you're tying abs to validation. So what happens when your progress stalls, when the compliments stop, when your clothes just don't fit like you want them to, and you're still doing everything you're supposed to do? What happens when life punches you back and fat loss is not enough to keep you standing? One slip up turns into six, and you tell yourself, what's the point? You loosen the reins, and just like that, the whole mountain collapses. And here's the worst part. If you don't fix this, you keep chasing fat loss with a weak reason. You won't just regain the weight, you'll lose trust in yourself. Because every time you fall off, it chips away at your belief that change is possible. You start saying things like this: I just don't have the willpower. I guess I'll never look like that. Maybe I'm just not meant to be like this. And one day you'll stop trying altogether. You're not lazy, you're just tired of hoping, because every failed attempt hurts more than staying the same. And this is exactly what we are trying to avoid. Here's the part that no one talks about. Even elite athletes, the ones with all the discipline, with all the coaches, all the macros, fall out of shape when their career ends. Why? Because once their career ends, so does their reason. It was never about the health, it was about performance, pressure, or proving something. And without that, even the best physiques collapse. And that's when it hits you. Maybe it's not that you're flawed, it's that you've been building your results on reasons that don't last. When life changes, your results shift too. That's the real reason why fat loss doesn't last. Not that you didn't try hard enough, but because your why wasn't built to survive the storms. Let me show you what that shift actually looks like, because it's not a diet or a new training program. It starts here. This is what your mountain should look like. Let's start with the base, which is your foundation, your big why. You need a reason that doesn't burn out. So how do you craft that? Well, you're in luck, because in the description, I've crafted a complete guide to help you do just exactly that. Everyone's is different, but it has to be a reason deeper than abs. I'll show you my example. For me, it starts with my faith. I'm a Christian, so my body is a temple and a gift that I feel like I need to look after. Also have ADHD, so movement helps me regulate my mind and stay focused. Would you look at that, mate? There's a freaking squirrel. Yeah, I've got accents that irritate me every day. But the exercise, it helps, you know, to just get rid of the ADHD a little bit. I also want to be the kind of dad that can run and play and jump with his kids, not sit on the sidelines and watch. That's my why, and if I'm not feeling that, then I'm not living aligned with my beliefs. It's not about abs anymore, it's about being capable, focused, and present, so I can serve others and live fully and build the future that I care about. I'd love to hear your why at the moment too, so just drop it below in the comments. Even if it's messy or still forming, I read every single one of them. So what about the middle? What goes here? I call this part the momentum engine, because this is where all your action lives, all the invisible work compounds, and the visible results catch up. Not hacks, not trends, just actions that actually move the needle. Built on top of your why, not guilt. Let me give you a few. You don't need a perfect plan. You need repeatable action, movement, not the perfect workout. Because it's not the 1 hour session that transforms you. It's moving daily, even if you're just walking when you are tired. Protein, not to get jacked, but to feel full and satisfied. Meal rhythm, 2 or 3 times a day. Not random grazing, not skipping or binging. Just structure that's repeatable and easy. Fasting if it fits, not to impress anyone, but to just simplify your day. Fewer decisions, less chaos. Let me ask you this, do you eat differently on weekends than you do during the week? Do you train harder after a breakup than when you're content? Do you skip workouts when life gets busy because they're not built into your routine? These aren't character flaws, they're system habit gaps. Habits built from guilt are fragile, but habits that are built from identity are unshakable. What would happen if fat loss came from how you lived and not how you trained? The training serves a different purpose. That workout that you're stressing about might burn 300 to 500 calories on average. But now think about everything else you do. Walking the dog, cleaning the kitchen, pacing up and down on a phone. That's exercise thermogenesis and it adds up. Most days you're going to burn more calories moving through life than you do in your gym session. Here's the kicker. It's way easier eating 300 calories less than burning them in a gym session. Let me show you what I mean. A cheeseburger, 600 calories. A gym session, maybe 400 to 500 for the average person if you're pushing. So if you think you can burn off every meal, you're going to end up in a cycle of guilt and you're going to end up chasing your fork with a treadmill. That's not freedom, that's food jail. You're not eating to live, you're negotiating with food as if it's your enemy. That's the beauty of having a system. It makes room for those moments. And the best part, it removes guilt because it's not failure. It's a tool. It serves the plan. Burgers off limits, ice cream evil, and once you blow it, it's all over. But think of it this way, you didn't mess up, you just never learned how food can fit into a method that fits your life. Because fat loss is not about perfection, it's about permission. Permission to live, permission to enjoy, permission to still make progress. Because your system holds even when your willpower doesn't. So instead of training to undo your choices, what if your lifestyle made fat loss automatic? That's when training becomes fun again, not a form of punishment. That shift right there, that's your momentum engine in action. Because your body follows your why. Or strategies that make a calorie deficit easier. Instead of tracking every single bite, I myself use intermittent fasting. I eat my first meal at about 9 a.m. in the morning and I eat my second meal at about 5 p.m. in the afternoon, and I make sure those add up to my total caloric allowance for the day and I'm done. That gives me freedom on weekends to eat more, indulge, socialize without any guilt. That's what works for me, but your version might be different. And that's the whole point, because the middle of the mountain is made of habits that fit for you. And at the peak, you have a body that reflects the life that you want to have, not a life that you are chasing to feel loved. Let me put it this way, it's like trying to climb Maslow's hierarchy without meeting your basic needs at the bottom first. You're aiming for fulfillment with abs, but your base isn't even stable. At the peak, you've learned to understand how food works and you use your habits to complement that. You've built systems that don't collapse when your motivation dips. And everything is supported and cemented by your why. So if you have a bad week, you know how to get back on track because it's part of the process. Because it's normal. And your deep reason keeps on driving you forward. And I've lived that. My breaking point came after another breakup. I realized that I only trained hard when I was actually chasing after something. I only got lean or into great shape when I felt like I wasn't enough. And every time I got into a relationship, the gym and the training stopped becoming a priority because I finally felt like I was enough. But when the relationship ended, I kept on falling back into the grind, trying to chase abs and validation, trying to earn love with abs again. And that wasn't discipline, it was desperation, and to be honest with you, it was exhausting. I remember standing in the mirror one day, leaner than I'd ever been, but I still felt empty. And every time I slipped up, it felt like the whole mountain came crashing down on me because it was never built for me. It was built for approval. Now, that moment didn't break me, but it woke me up. That's when I realized I've been climbing the wrong mountain all along. I wasn't training to be wanted. I was training to be enough. The truth, I don't even walk around with a six-pack all the time because I go through refeeds to give my body a break. which also forms part of my system. To get there, I have to drop way below 8% body fat, and what happens then is my testosterone tanks, my mood drops, and all those feelings I was running from previously, they come back calling even louder than before. So I asked myself, what if fat loss wasn't the goal? What if the goal was to actually like the person that I saw in the mirror? Here's the thing, I'm not perfect. I still wrestle with these thoughts. There's still pressure, expectations. There's a reputation I try and uphold here on YouTube because I do want to help people. And unfortunately, that's what gets the clicks. But still knowing that truth of my past, it gives me perspective and it grounds me. I want to help people, and I also want to help myself and give my future my best shot. That's what happens when your reason is real. You stop chasing validation for motivation. So now there's a new question I'd like to ask you, but before we get to that, if this shifted something in you or changed the way that you see fat loss, just consider giving me a... It lets me know and others know that this message is landing, and it also gets to those people. So now the question becomes, if you're finally doing it for the right reasons, how do you know that it's actually working? Because your body and mind might be changing in ways that you've never learned to measure. That's what I'll break down in the next video. The 11 quiet signs that fat loss is working, even when you don't realize it.